All right, teammates. We are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the number one show on innovative teamwork. Great to have you. Looking forward to having you back for more. To my regular listeners, as promised, as guaranteed, I bring people on this show that just have an incredible story, and they're here to serve you in some way, shape, form, or fashion. My man, Kofi. What's up, man? I want to call him a entrepreneur, but it's more in particular restaurateur. I believe that's the way you pronounce it. He has not one but two nightclubs that really accentuate the Afro nightlife and things of that nature. So, with all that, we're going to jump right into his story and how he was able to build it and brand it and do some of the work he's doing now. So, all that being said, Kofi, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. You did say nightclubs, and I want to correct that. It's not a nightclub.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, so we
it's correct. Like as well. So I'll let the listeners know because this is something I myself is going to be educated with along with you guys. So don't look at me necessarily as the interviewer, like the expert in this, because we're about to all get educated on how to build a restaurant the right way. And like he just said, like I just made the mistake. It's not all about just a nightclub. It's not all just about what you do at night. He's gonna, break the whole thing down for us. So with all that, please educate us on exactly what it is. It's called the Bloom Bar, correct?
Yeah, Bloom Bar.
Bloom
It's
Bar.
called Bloom
So,
Bar.
walk us through the how you founded it, started in Ghana, now you're in Atlanta, kind of give us a little bit there.
Okay, so Bloom Bar started as far back as 2017. The idea, the concept was conceptualized in 2016. It took about a year to get it off the ground. We started off in a 60 capacity space rooftop, and within a year, we were able to expand to 1,500 capacity space.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, the concept was inspired to target the middle class in the Ghana Accra nightlife, and we were giving them a space where they could be themselves, enjoy cocktails, enjoy affordable food and drinks, and do so in an ambience that was high end and enjoy the vibes and basically just go with whatever we had to offer, from the promos that we would do, from having artists once in a while come through and give them a light show here and there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been should I say, the nightlife, when we went in, we decided to do a cocktail bar, but the audience at the time were looking for something more than a cocktail bar. So I would understand why you would say nightclub, because if you go online and you look at our pictures and videos in Ghana,
Yeah.
they're outdoor, jumping and screaming and laughing and dancing, and
Yeah,
that
that's why I would assume that it would be like a
yep,
nice
yep,
club
yep.
that you
That
were
was what
able to
the,
make
the
it. Yeah.
audience, yeah, the audience at the time were looking for a space where they could actually be that happy and free.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of gave them the space for that,
Yes.
and people have often referred to us as an outdoor nightclub, which is is allowed when we do so in Ghana, but conceptually and in our books, we are a cocktail bar.
Yes. So
Yeah.
for the in back in 2016, because this is a business I know some things about in terms of getting it started and trying to keep things professional, trying to make sure there's a lot of ins and outs when you're talking about the restaurant business, serving sizes, getting cooks, making sure things are being legit, making sure money's coming in. There's a lot of variables that can go wrong when you're starting a restaurant. Take us back a little bit to 2016 when it started and how you were able to kind of overcome a lot of these objections and actually get it started to the point where now you're able to, get a second location and stuff like that. Just for anybody that's listening, that it's a business owner, because most of the people that listen to the show are business owners as it is, and they don't understand some of the challenges that actually come with being a business owner until they're actually in business and they have to figure it out kind of on the fly.
Yeah, so I would like to say every environment presents its own challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Doing it in the States, we encountered very different challenges, as well as doing it in Ghana. And I'll just give you the comparison for the two.
Yes.
Uh, so when we go
Well,
as far
before you
back as
go, I want to make sure it's Ghana and it's in Atlanta, correct? So I'm going to make sure
and in Atlanta,
you put
yeah.
the date out
So
there, the location.
yes. So for Ghana, we started in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
And the challenges that we faced in Ghana were not necessarily with the staffing, in as much as we were very lucky with the staffing. We were able to get the right team. We were able to get very educated candidates to come on board and help us accomplish the goals. But the challenges that we faced were more as business owners trying to change the idea of the owner of a restaurant or bar. Now, for us to have created something to be able to leverage the brand to draw in more money or to have people respect the craft that we do as a very reputable job, we had to fight and change that perception of the owners of the nightclub or a night or restaurant spaces, to be exact. It was not the most elegant or the most prestigious job to do back in the day, because culturally, the way we view things back then in Ghana was that job was just going to sell food and drinks. And the way they put it, sometimes it didn't make it the most attractive. So if you had to go to a bank to raise money to kickstart such a business, they would ignore you because in the books at the bank, they are looking at supporting businesses in the finance sector, agricultural sector, or sectors that made more sense, like mining and other sectors, which were huge and were making a lot of money.
Yeah,
So it
that's what
became,
because they could prove it's probably easier to prove the ROI in that
thank you.
situation. So you had to, I got you. Okay.
So these were challenges. How do we come in and change that perception about what we do? How do we make them see that we are a force to reckon with? How do they see that we can get our books right and then we can match the numbers of some of these other industries so they would approach us with packages, with deals when we want to grow? So these were challenges that we faced, and we were able to come to these and change the perception within 2 years. So we kind of structured our systems. And when we created a model where it was more about numbers. So if I have a space where I have a capacity is about 60 to 100, your numbers will be okay, but it's not good enough because you haven't created a shift in the market. So bankers will not see you as a force to reckon with. Telecommunication companies or drink brands will not see you as a force to reckon with. So when they come in to do business with you, they will determine the pace of the relationship. Okay. But when we were able to move from that small capacity to a huge space where now we could have close to 5,000 people enjoy our service at night,
Yeah.
it became a force to reckon with.
Yes. And this is important for everyone, every business owner out there to really tune into systems. The key word is systems. And when it comes time to get in, and then the hardest part, and you can correct me if I'm, but the hardest part is actually getting your project, your idea, your vision actually funded when you're competing with so many different people. And it will not get funded if your systems aren't moving in a very coherent manner. And what he's discussing are things that you probably wouldn't even have thought of when you actually first put the business plan together. Like, all right, I got to move in a space that's going to make it so more people show up, and it's going to make it so I'm able to get the funding and things like that. But I also do want to make sure I give you the opportunity to speak on the support you must have gotten, the support from the community, because you can't build a business, especially like this, that's so dependent on people showing up, making noise, making sure they're supporting locally and things like that. So please kind of speak on the support from the people to actually show up and do what they had to do, or I don't want to say they had to do it, but make sure they're just supporting their own.
Yeah, the support was everything for us
Yeah.
because first of all, people will give you their support when you let them have their money's worth.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
for
sir.
us, it wasn't really about getting in to make money. We were very passionate about what we were offered. So we made sure service was on point for the amount of money that people were paid, in as much as we were not the most expensive venue, but we provided a great ambience because we could tell that if we could sell an ambience where you feel like you are any of the top earning spaces, but these spaces had just capacity, 200, 300, we could play it well, have that capacity of 1,500, get you still in that ambience, and then we can leverage off of making money off of the numbers at night.
Yeah.
Where the other big brands could not, the spaces that were existing before us could not compete because they didn't have that large space.
Right.
So the support that we were getting was also because we were making them the money's worth of
Hmm.
what it paid in the space. So then they felt like they were a part of what we were doing. And we were very personable with the brand. The brand was very personable, even in the way that back in the day when we were establishing the brand, the brand would tweet as if it was a human. We personified the brand. Okay. So people would tweet about, the brand, and the brand would respond to them as if
Right.
they were friends.
So it
So
wasn't
these
like
are,
a corporate thing. They tweeted, no, they don't hear back, so they're constantly engaged. Okay.
yeah, these were the things that we did to build a certain, um, you know, there's this affinity that the people had towards the brand
Yeah. Yeah.
because we personalized the brand for them. So that support, it was Accra that made Bloom Bar Bloom Bar.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
like I was talking to Brandy before we started recording. My background's in the Caribbean community. My family's from Trinidad and things like that. And when they see something that's their own, especially coming from I guess an island type of a vibe, when they see something that's their own, they see young, productive men or women that are building their business, and you're able to create kind of an atmosphere in which they like, I can do that. Young kids can see that I can build my business. We don't have to, be that typical Caribbean that's just drinking all, that stereotype that a lot of us, especially as Black men, fall into. These are businessmen that are actually doing some productive work. So the question actually is now, you have that, you seem like you're doing well in Ghana. You're creating this atmosphere, creating this environment. Why Atlanta? Why take the great things that you're doing and then come to the ATL where now it's like, oh man, I got it. And this is Atlanta. I've been to Atlanta and there's a lot of nightlife out there. There's a lot of things. There's a ton of competition, but it seems like you like, hey, let's do it. We ain't ducking no one. So walk us through the kind of the transition
Oh,
of
you,
how that come
you,
up.
I like the fact that you mentioned that you were from the islands and you can
Yeah,
relate to this.
yeah,
Now, the same way you're from the islands and the same way I'm from Accra, Ghana, we both know that there is a cap to what the market can how far the market can get your business to grow.
yes, sir.
Because if you go there and you look at the strength of hospitality, you cannot compare it to what's happening in the West. So
Mhm.
your business can only grow to a certain point because of income levels, because of certain economic situations. So you can
Yeah,
definitely hit the ceiling and you can do so easily.
yeah.
So that is exactly what happened to our brand in Ghana.
Hmm.
After 7 years of operations, we hit the point where we couldn't grow any further.
Hmm.
What you get is what you're going to get.
Wow.
And the only time you saw a difference in your revenue is when we have an influx of tourism during the festive seasons of Christmas or Easter.
Yeah.
When you have that influx of tourists, you have a change in your numbers.
Right.
Okay. But during the year,
Right.
you hit the cap, you hit the ceiling, and you can't really move beyond that.
Right.
Now, that made us interested in looking into other
Hmm.
markets where you could grow bigger, other markets where hospitality is more sophisticated and we could obviously take things to the next level, but we need to kind of create something that would also be new in that space.
Hmm.
And look at the growth and the sudden acceptance of Afrobeats and everything African. And it captures our food, it captures our music, it captures our vibe, and in the essence of what we share in our culture. The number of visitors that we were getting from the West just made us know that it was the place to go to.
Hmm.
Now, my business partner and I grew up in New York, and we
Hmm.
had all our holidays in New York.
Okay.
But when you do the numbers, when we're doing our research, we were visiting Atlanta. We first time we visited Atlanta was in 2018. And
Hmm.
when we visited Atlanta, it just felt like this is the place because now we're in the city of Buckhead, which is like, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's like the Manhattan of Atlanta.
I actually
And,
went to Atlanta for the first time myself last summer, and
yeah.
geez, the name of it, but they were talking to me about Buckhead, and we were doing some things with what I was doing. So yeah, it is a big city. It is a big city.
Yes. And if you're looking at the big city, we realize that as compared to like in New York,
Hmm.
the number of Black people that own businesses here seem to be more than Manhattan.
Hmm.
And when we look at our space, you look at the business that were thriving, that had a support community.
Hmm.
And in the absence of, let's put competition even aside,
Hmm.
the support community is everything. And you want to tap into a space where you had a market that understood your concept to grow the concept from there to share with the rest of other states.
Right. So,
So
well,
Atlanta was
before I want to make sure I get clear here. So, when you say support community, can you clearly define what you mean by support community? Because there can be people listening who are not of Ghana descent or Caribbean or African descent, but they do want to vibe. They do want to figure out, they want to try something new. Maybe they're Hispanic, maybe they just Asian, they just moved, they want to just a new couple that want to try something new. So when you say support community, just kind of
yeah.
clearly define on what you're referring to.
Okay, I like that. So we can look at the support community in different angles.
Hmm.
Number one, we started to see that Atlanta was a budding center for restaurants. So you could see that there were a lot of food lovers here. There were a lot of people looking for new
Yes.
concepts,
Yeah.
be it Hispanic, be it Black, be it Caucasian. Everyone was looking to try something new in Atlanta because it was the budding space for restaurants.
Yeah.
So you have Hispanics going to African spots, you had Caucasians going to Hispanic spots. It's only because there is that there's this point in time where everybody wants to try something new.
Yes.
Okay. That was one. Two, we also realized that the diaspora that visited Ghana at the time, majority were from Atlanta.
Okay.
And we had worked with groups that would bring people in to party at Bloom Bar in Accra. And you ask most of them where they're from, and they would tell you Atlanta.
Hmm.
So we knew that we were connecting with certain people already within the city of
Hmm.
Atlanta.
Hmm.
Okay. So the support community goes beyond color. It's people
Yes.
looking for new things, people realizing that things are changing, the income levels are improving in Atlanta. People have the money now to spend on new things and try new things. All of this adds to a support community.
Yes.
And I know it's just the space for it.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that, listeners. Well, first of all, you have to understand support community, like you said, goes beyond color. There's a lot of you as owners that have got to get that through your head. You don't just need to serve one race of you. Actually, it's not feasible to just serve one race of people. And even your mindset, the way you kind of judge people off skin color and things like that, you got to eradicate that if you want to get serious about your business. The next thing that we got to pull from that is making sure you understand your research. Do your damn research, folks. Do your damn research. You cannot jump into these ventures without actually going and speaking to your customers. I love the point in which you started to explain. Look, these people that were, I'm assuming they were high ticket folks. They're renting out parties. They're reserving things. These people are coming from Atlanta. So that sparked something in you to say, all right, Atlanta needs to be a place where we kind of build this, even though, as you mentioned, New York might have been that might have been the rewarding thing, because that's where you grew up. But it's like ATL's what a real money is, what a support is, and you're gonna have to make those decisions as business owners. These are the things you have to take into consideration. These are the things that you have to start doing as you're approaching your business and if you're serious about actually building it. So, you're in Atlanta, you decide to go and you start it. How does it get started? Because again, if you're creating an experience, now you gotta think a little different. Actually, just yesterday I was interviewing Greg Moore, and he runs a company called Franchise Maven, and he was talking about Taco Bell. He was talking about McDonald's. He was talking about how everything stays the same regardless of the franchise. You don't have that luxury because you have to create an experience within every single employee, and they can't just be a cashier that says, "All right, take your burger and I'll never see you again." There's a lot that has to go in terms of who you pick to build out your staff and things like that. So I'll give you the floor to kind of speak on that.
Okay, so first thing for us, I want you to get in my mind and understand how I see hospitality.
Yes,
With the
sir.
exception of how passionate I am, I'm very passionate about hospitality, right? Now, aside being extremely passionate about it, for my business partner and I, we see having the space as an opportunity to immerse people into an experience. And for that to happen, everybody must buy into the vision. So when we are recruiting staff during our interviews, we have a few things that we look out for. But the most important thing to us is when we are asking questions, we like to see people who are willing or people who show the sign of buying into the brand. And when I say buy into the brand, I mean to say a lot of people came into the interview and they had done research about the brand.
Mm-hmm.
They would tell you a few things on your menu from Ghana. They would tell you what they had seen about Ghana. Now, such a person you want to work with, because for them to come to the interview, they prepared. They immersed themselves into what you were about to do here and came in to want to learn more and find out from you, are you going to be the same as you are in Ghana? Are you going to do something different here? Such a person, you know that we can reform your mentality about what people, feel or see, and then immerse you and make you a part of the story that we tell every day to people that walk through the doors.
Mm-hmm.
So these are some of the things that we look out for when we are employing. And then we create a platform for anyone that walks into the space to be a part of this movie every day. So for us, Taco Bell can be, and all these other franchises are very, the systems are very, kind of like static. It's the same everywhere. When
Yeah.
you go, they want you to experience the same thing everywhere, right?
Right.
But what we present for you, we have this thing that we say over here is Bloom gives you the experience to share a unique story your way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we say telling great stories untold for you to tell.
Right.
Because your experience here is going to be your experience. And we're going to make sure that you experience it in your own special way and leave here with something to say.
Mm-hmm.
But if the employees here don't buy into that, they're not going to give you that experience.
Yeah.
So we are very particular about these things.
So when you get these employees, though, what are some of the things that you do to keep them engaged with the vision of the organization? Okay, because again, I can see, or I've been a part of quite a few businesses in which the person gets the job, they do their research, but maybe they don't want to, maybe they're not feel like they're moving fast enough, maybe it wasn't what they thought it was. How do you as an owner make sure, look, you show your appreciation to the people that provide this experience every day? And I want to make sure I make that point to you guys. It's important, if you are worth a damn as an employee, you got to provide the experience every day. I get there's a lot of things that could be going on in your home, personal life. I get it, but providing that experience for these people walking in, that's such a key point in terms of how valuable you are to an employer or a business owner and things like that. So it's important that there's that relationship with them.
The most important thing for us as a brand is we are not your average restaurant. The advantage that the hospitality groups have over a restaurant, which is just a single owned restaurant, is that they
Yes.
do not they do not sell, I don't want to use the word sell, but they do not appeal to their employees when it comes to growth.
Mm-hmm.
Every person wants to see growth in their life.
Yeah.
If you are a part of our company, we are talking about your growth here, not just by knowledge, but everyone is interested in their well-being financially.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when we talk growth, we spoke to our employees during training about you come in as a waiter today.
Yeah.
There's the opportunity to grow to be a floor manager because we do not intend to stay here in Atlanta. The brand intends to expand to multiple states. So
Okay.
if you are someone that maybe the opportunity comes up and you want to be a part of New York or
Mm-hmm.
Houston or any place that God willing we have established,
Yeah.
we see you as a part of the family where you can grow and be a manager elsewhere and earn good money and see yourself grow with the company. You're not going to stay forever in a certain position where you don't see growth.
Yeah.
Now, what we also even present to our management group is the opportunity that as a brand, as we grow, you
Mm-hmm.
can buy in. Okay, you can buy in. So we give you the opportunity to own shares in the future as the brand grows. So
Yeah.
these are some plans that we have.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have people that understand that if I'm growing with this company, if I put my best foot forward and I can grow with this company, if they accomplish things, I would also win.
Right. So you actually kind of beat me to the next question I had for you. And I asked this because I know you sell experience. You sell experience, just like a Starbucks. You don't go to Starbucks just to buy coffee. You go to Starbucks, you have your business dinners, you have your meeting. The typical entrepreneur can stay in Starbucks all day, spend, breakfast, lunch, and dinner there and have a productive day. When it comes to expanding into new states and new places, how do you go about doing that? Because it has to be difficult for you as the business owner that built this, in their mind from scratch to say, okay, I'm going to take this to Florida where I'm not going to be able to be in Atlanta and Florida. I'm going to take it to New York and I might take it to Cali. Like, how do you even begin that process in terms of how am I going to expand and all that kind of stuff?
Now, there's the beauty. So the beauty about owning your own brand is you get to do what you want
Mm-hmm.
and how you want it and tell the story to defend it, right? So being in Atlanta, when we came here, if you're looking at what we were or what we are in Ghana, it was you described it as a nightclub.
Yeah.
But when you come to our Atlanta space, it is very different. It sells nothing of a nightclub.
Okay.
It's because the kind of market that we are in, we realize that for you to grow, you need to be able to sell yourself very elegant, cut
Mm-hmm.
certain things out like hookah, and then create something that if I want to see my brand go to the next level, I should be able to sell my menu, my food, my business model, and say, hey, Hilton or St. Regis, I see you're about to open up in Hawaii. I
Ooh.
want this brand to fit in that space. I want
Mm.
to be a part of your growth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
That is how we perceive the brand, right?
Wow.
So I'm seeing it in Atlanta as a standalone. We're in our own building, but maybe opening up in New York, we might want to be in a hotel.
Yeah.
Okay. And the fact that we're a cocktail bar, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
allows us that flexibility
Yeah.
to sell ourselves different ways in different markets,
Yeah.
depending on what the market is requesting for.
Man, dude, that's amazing. And not only that, what I love about that, number one, is it feeds into your hospitality passion. So regardless, you're going to be doing what you're passionate about. That's reason number one. But I'll give you a personal experience that I had. We were at Tuesday, so about 72 hours ago, it was a Saturday. I went to Delray Beach, Florida. And I was meeting a former guest, and she was at a hotel, and guess what was in that hotel? It was a breakfast spot right there on the water. Now, before, and this is just something that you can kind of take away from because it's a personal experience. The Friday, I was looking at other restaurants to have breakfast with her. She texts me back and said, "Why don't we just do it here at the hotel? Why don't we just do it here at the hotel? They got a nice setting on the water. We get our breakfast and everything was cool." But a lot of people don't think in terms of, okay, hospitality, put it in a hotel brand and just latch on. And then that creates the partnership. So the brand, the elegance, the eloquent, and the way you can eloquently describe it to potential investors, that's really what gets the sale. It's not actually just saying being in business just to be in business, but what gets the sale is how elegant you make everything and how presentable it is. So that's incredible, man. That's incredible. I'm looking forward to it now. I gotta make sure I get me. If I'm in Atlanta, I definitely gotta make sure I come through.
You should. You should.
So all that being said, the way I close, well, first of all, how can people, get in touch with you if they want to support and reach out and things like that? Just feel free to put all that stuff out there now.
Okay, so they can get us on bloombergglobal.com.
Hmm.
That is our website, or they can also check us out on Bloomberg ATL on Instagram.
Okay.
So these two other platforms where we are very active.
Bloomberg, and I'll include all that in the show notes as well. And so, Kofi, the way I close out all the shows is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. It's you, your business partner. You guys are 2015. I'm not sure exactly what you guys are doing then, but you're just talking as boys. This is your boys, and y'all just thinking like, what are we going to do to really establish ourselves? Kind of pretend that young, those two young guys are in the Zoom room now, and give him some words of encouragement, and we'll officially close.
That's a tough one,
You
eh?
don't got to go too far. I mean, you don't got to go too far into what you were actually doing then, but
Yeah.
whatever he was, just let him know what life. Because I'm sure you can't imagine life was just going to be like this. So now you expanded from New York, Ghana, back to Atlanta. So again, go ahead.
So let me get a question right. You're asking if I could cast myself back in 2015.
Yeah, 2015. That young Kofi's in here. Just 15. No, you're not 15 years old, but 2015 version of you
2015,
is
yeah.
in here now.
and I had to say some words of encouragement to
Anything
myself,
you want to,
like
yeah,
what would I?
yeah,
Well, knowing me, I just if I could go back in time and tell myself something, I'll say, "Hey, you're going to face a lot of challenges, and just like you keep moving,
yes. Take
because
it by day.
there's great light at the end of the tunnel. So keep moving." That's what I'll tell myself.
Yeah, that's perfect. And the reason I do close out like that is because if there is someone out there that's listening that is going through it, that may seem like or feel like they don't have hope, you just have an idea, you don't know exactly who to pursue, you don't have anything. This is what this show is about. This is what I've been all about. This is the kind of people that come on just to give you something to go another day, go one more day, and then go another day after that, and then another day after that. The challenges will come, just take them head on. So, all that being said, fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.